day, we have received yet another message here in the studio. Thousands of people write to us daily, but no one ever believes them, or us. Our organization had to register on this strange network. Perhaps now someone will finally listen. So, right now we will read you one of the anonymous letters that arrived just last night. And remember this: something is always hiding in the dark. Have you ever felt the night whispering your worst nightmares? How the darkness creeps into your soul and ordinary sounds turn into harbingers of horror? My name is Jack Reed, a former city cop. I thought I had seen everything: murder, violence, madness. But what happened in that forgotten-by-God town in rural Wyoming made me realize something. True horror doesn't hide in dark alleys. It hides in your neighbors' houses. This isn't a story. This is what happened to me. And if you listen closely, you might hear those screams in your own sleep.
It all started with a call from my father. His voice on the phone was weak, trembling like the wind in dry leaves. "Come home, son. I need help." He never asked for help. He was an old man, stubborn as a mountain rock. I dropped everything: my job on the police force, my apartment in New York, even the woman I was just starting to date. I got in my car and drove halfway across the country, on roads that grew narrower and narrower, surrounded by forests where the trees whispered secrets. Evergreen Grove, that's the town's name. Tiny, with a population of a couple hundred souls, where everyone knows everyone, but no one looks you in the eye. The houses are old, with peeling paint, and the streets are empty after sunset. My father lived on the outskirts, in the house where I grew up. The same house where childhood seemed endless and nights were safe. How wrong I was. I arrived in the early evening, just as the sun was hiding behind the mountains, painting the sky a blood red. My car stalled by the gate, as if it refused to go further. My father met me on the porch, thin, weary, with eyes that hid pain. "Good thing you're here, Jack," he said, clutching my hand as if afraid to let go. We went inside. The house smelled of dust and age, the same smell that clings to memories. Trying to distract myself, I started sorting through my father's things. But my gaze involuntarily drifted toward the window. There, in the neighbor's yard, a burly man was dragging a black garbage bag out of an old pickup truck. It was heavy, sagging in the middle. The man pulled it slowly, with effort, and the bag left a trail on the ground, dark, wet, which immediately conjured the worst associations. I shook my head. It's the countryside, I thought. Everyone hunts here. But something in that movement made me freeze. The man looked up as if he felt my gaze and stared right at me. His eyes were blank, like a doll's. He smiled, slowly, without emotion. Just a neighbor, I convinced myself. I didn't know then that this was the beginning. The evening passed quietly. My father ate silently, looking out the window, as if waiting for something. "Better not get involved, Jack. They are their own kind," he warned. After dinner, he went to bed early. The silence was oppressive, as if the house was breathing. In the middle of the night, something tore through the silence, muffled, distant screams. They sounded like a child crying, muffled, hopeless. I got up, went to the window. The neighbor's house was dark, but a faint light flickered. I returned to bed, but panic had already crept into my chest. I never truly fell asleep that night. The screams that echoed from underground left an imprint in my head. When the first rays of dawn seeped through the curtains, I got up. My father sat staring into the void. "Did you hear anything last night?" I asked. "Nothing, son." "Go back to sleep," he replied quietly. Closer to evening, I heard a gunshot. Sharp, like a branch snapping underfoot, it came from the neighbor's house. I ran out, old police habit taking over. I knocked on the door, once, twice, harder. Silence. Then the door slowly creaked open on its own. A little girl stood on the threshold, small, thin, with red hair that fell over her shoulders like flames. She couldn't have been more than 10, but her eyes looked old, as if she had seen more than she could bear. "I'm Emily," she said softly. "I heard a shot," I said. "I'm a cop, retired. Can I come in to check if everything's okay?" She shook her head. "No, you can't without a warrant." Her voice was cold, almost mechanical. How did a 10-year-old girl know about warrants? I left, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The next evening, I heard the screams again, loud, sharp, full of fury. They were coming from the neighbor's house. I ran to the window. Through the neighbor's partly closed curtains, I saw the burly man hitting Emily. His hand struck heavily. She cried out, but she didn't weep or plead. I grabbed my jacket and hammered on the door. Nothing. Then the door slowly opened on its own. I stepped inside. The air in the house was heavy, sticky, smelling of decay and something else. Sweet, disgusting. Everything was in disarray, and the floor was covered in black, shiny beetles. I went into the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator. But what I saw made my stomach turn. Inside was meat. Far too much meat. It was portioned in a way no hunter would process their game. These were cuts that didn't belong to a deer or a bear. They were too small, too human. Then I heard a sound, a muffled, rhythmic moan coming from under the floor. I found a trap door under the rug. I opened it, revealing darkness. Stairs led down into the cold and dampness. I descended. The corridor downstairs was narrow. The walls were seeping water, smelling of earth and death. The crying grew louder, joined by the clanging of chains and a whisper I couldn't make out. The corridor ended in a large room where there were cages. Dozens of cages, empty but filthy. On the floor, bloodstains, scraps of clothing. A child's shoe lay in the corner, small, pink. "What the hell is going on here?" I whispered. The darkness in the basement was thick. I found another door, which opened into a room like an office. A thick, yellowed ledger lay on the table. The pages were covered with names, dates, and details. Tommy, 1985 to 1987, weak, didn't make it. Billy, 1990 to 1992, too noisy. And redhead, 135 centimeters Emily, 1987 to 1989. Redhead, 135 centimeters Emily, 1995 to 1997. No Emily lasted longer than 2 years. It was a catalog of victims. I felt a chill behind my back. Then a sharp pain shot through the back of my head. The world went dark. When I came to, my head was throbbing, and my hands were tied behind my back. I was lying on a cold concrete floor in a room that resembled a slaughterhouse. The burly man, the neighbor, was pacing in front of me, twirling a knife. His eyes gleamed like an animal's. "Emily, my Emily, don't touch," he whispered, giggling. I tried to speak. "Who are you?" "What are you doing with the children?" He hissed like a snake. "Children!" "Ha ha. They whisper. They whisper in the walls. Emily says you're a bad cop, messing with my toys." He darted closer. "You'll become a part of the family." His words were chaotic, spewing madness. "Father taught me, cut, eat, hide. I hide in the meat. You won't find." He began recounting his past, how he and his sister were kidnapped as children, locked in cages, and suffered starvation and brutal beatings. My sister, she couldn't take it, and he would come at night and do things to her that destroyed her soul. He stole her innocence and her last strength. He confessed in a monotone voice. I tried to protect her, but I was weak. He then detailed how his sister was taken away, never seen again, and how he was taught to hunt, cut, and clean by his captor, who became his father. We started hunting together, kidnapping children, he continued. The boys, for victims and our sick amusement, as he called it. The girls, redheads, like my sister. He was looking for a replacement, but none lasted long. The cruelty broke them too quickly. He finished the story, recounting how the police killed his father, but the lessons of control and hunger remained. I started on my own, he finished. I keep Emily, feed her, teach her, but she breaks. I have to switch them out. And the bodies? I don't bury them anymore. Why? When the meat is fresh, it's economical, logical. He leaned down, pressed the blade against my throat. You got into the wrong place, cop. Now you're part of the lesson. For the new Emily, she'll learn to survive on you. He sliced my arm, and blood flowed. Savoring it, he licked the blade. You're our treasure. Emily will be happy. We'll eat you slowly. You'll whisper in the walls. The cold metal cut deeper. This isn't madness. It's the logic of evil, grown out of pain, and it won't stop.
In fact, we don't know who specifically sent us this letter. The only thing indicated on it was where it came from. Wyoming, Evergreen Grove. We forwarded the information to the FBI but have not received any response. We can only hope for the best.
This is a warning from the past. So make sure you're learning from mistakes that you did last.